Let me go get you the world, baby. I'll be.
Hello there. Welcome to So Sweet Sundays. I'm Sweets, and today I have the privilege of having an amazing guest with me, and she is
Rosalind.
And she is the baby sister to my best friend. My best friend has been on here, and they, like I've said before, when she was on here, their whole family is just super amazing, super sweet, and they're all gorgeous. Look at that skin, look at her shine and popping. And we just gonna sit down and have a little chittity chat like I like to do. It's been such a long time coming. We've been timing because we were supposed to do this a while ago. Then, like you said, life was life. Yeah. And so, but God knows when it's the right time, when we need to, when we have gone through certain avenues and ventures in our lives to where God makes it available to us.
Right.
So I really kind of just want to talk about His grace towards you, like God's grace towards you. It's like so crazy. Like your story, your life is truly been a journey. And where did you grow up at?
I grew up in South Sacramento.
Okay.
I went to schools in the Greenhaven area.
Mm-hmm.
So I was raised by my grandmother.
Okay.
My grandmother was a working grandmother, UC Davis. Went to church with my godmother. That's how I became, known to Christ and knowing of Christ and His mercy and everything. Childhood was good to me.
Yeah. How old were you when you were introduced to Christ, to the Lord?
12.
You were 12?
Yes.
Okay. So before 12, had you had any knowledge or any idea about
yes.
God?
I was in church from probably kindergarten on up.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, so 12 wasn't when you really, that's when you start to understand who He is, but you've known about Him because you were in church.
Right.
So did you want to stray away, or were you one of those, you heard about God and you wanted to follow it to some degree, or were you like, I don't know about this?
As a child, no, because that was my way of getting away and getting out the house.
Okay.
So I wanted to go to church. In my teens, that's when I did stray away. When I had the option to go,
right?
I was like, no, I'm not going to church.
So what would you prefer to do? Like, you wanted to go to the party, you want to kick it?
Just hang out, not be at church all day.
Yeah. Was it Baptist, Church of God in Christ?
Church of God in Christ?
Oh, Lord, yes. So you was in church all day.
All day, yes. From Sunday school to about 6 o'clock at night.
Right, YPWW.
Yes.
And so was it like your friends pulling on you like, oh. No?
Mm-mm.
So what made you feel like, that's not for me no more?
I just wanted to, do the things that they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't pulling on me. It wasn't no peer pressure or nothing. It was just, I have other things I can do now.
Yeah.
I have more freedom than just going to church.
Mm-hmm. Was it that you were like, it wasn't cool to be like in church all the time, or no?
No. I started doing more at school. Like I was in a dance club.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a student union. So I had other activities that I could do other than just going to church.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then did you start getting interested in boys at preteen, or were you already? Okay. And so then you're like, I could do something different.
And I still did stuff at church. When I really stopped going to church, this is bad. I was the president of the Purity Club.
Were you?
Yes. At church, and I ended up pregnant with Adriana.
Yeah.
So they took my title from me.
Explain to people who don't know what purity class is. What is that for those who don't know?
I mean, you have devoted yourself to be pure, up until marriage, loving God,
Yes.
preaching the gospel of God to young people, and just staying clean.
Yeah.
And then once they found out I was with child, they took my title away.
Right.
And told me I couldn't.
They said, you do not qualify. No. How did you feel when you got your title stripped?
Oh, I didn't worry about it.
Oh, you didn't
I
really
was
care?
like, oh, okay.
Okay.
No, it didn't bother
So
me.
how long into your pregnancy did they realize that you no longer qualified to be the president?
Oh man, I don't remember if it was the beginning. I think my grandma told my godmom. I think it was pretty early.
Yeah.
It was pretty early.
Did you have morning sickness? Were you like tired?
No, because I still went to regular school.
Yeah.
Nobody at school knew I was with child unless I told them.
Okay.
Like I still was getting up, going to school. I did everything normally.
You had no sickness, nothing?
At night, I went.
Okay. Really?
Just at night, yeah.
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
So would you feel like you got to throw up or?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just like it would be like clockwork every night. I would get sick.
How did you realize you were pregnant?
I don't remember. I knew early though. I knew very, very early. Yeah. I knew very early that I was pregnant. It wasn't one of those, but I don't remember how I knew I was. It's so long. But I knew.
So were you scared? Were you shocked?
Oh, yeah, I ran away.
What? You ran away?
Yes.
Why?
I was going to kill me. I was pregnant. I was 15.
But yet you here, you
Yes.
raised.
Yes.
So when you realized you were pregnant, you was like, gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I found out. I was out already and I found out. And I was like, I'm not going back home.
No.
Yeah.
And so what made you decide, okay, I gotta go back home now?
They were looking for me. It was only it's all the same day.
Oh.
I didn't come home that night, so they knew something was
you
wrong.
You ain't ran away. You went to the park.
It was all the same day.
Okay.
And then I ended up calling my grandma and talking to her, and I told her. And she was like, well, you just need to come home so we can talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I'm not going to kill you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Because you was like, surely I'll die.
Oh,
surely
man.
I'm going to die.
Man. Yes.
That is so
yes.
weird. So when you went home, who took you home? Where was you at?
I think I was in Greenhaven with my friends.
Okay. So then you could easily just ride the bus.
Get home, yeah.
Yeah. So then when you got home, was your heart still like, boom, 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 boom?
No,
or you were
because they were having a card party.
Okay.
So, and back then, if they have a card party, you can get away with some. It's not like you just there. So,
right.
My uncles was there, and so I was like, "All right, cool. I'm safe tonight." I knew I was safe. And so she was like, "Well, just go to bed." And I was like, "Cool. I'm going to bed."
Right.
But we had. I don't think it was that next day. But we ended up talking about it. She was taking me to the doctor. I was at the doctor, ready to plan to get an abortion.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because
I get
young,
your 15.
I
get your 15. But
it was just like, I'm not having it,
Okay.
And then in the doctor's office.
Did you not want to pursue
I didn't even think
at the
about
time?
it.
Okay.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Okay.
It was just like, I don't want to have no kid.
Okay.
And we're in the doctor's. The doctor's about to get to see me, give me the appointment to abort. And I looked at my grandma and I said, I can't have an abortion.
Oh.
And she was like, what? And I was like, I'm not supposed to be having no abortion.
Yeah.
And she said, well, you're going to have to write down the reasons why you don't want to have an abortion.
Okay.
And I think we still have that letter of my grandma's stuff.
Really?
That I wrote to her.
Oh, wow.
As to why I didn't want an abortion.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Oh, wow.
There was no more discussion about it.
Did she ever read the letter? Mm-hmm. Or did you have to read it to her?
No. I just gave it to her.
Okay.
But it's in her box with important papers.
Oh, wow.
Still, yeah.
That was how many years ago? What, 23?
No.
24?
It would have been, Adri would have been 28.
She would have been 28?
Yeah.
My God. We were just talking about how time flies.
Should have been 28.
That is so crazy. Wow, that is so insane that you still have it
Mm-hmm.
to this. That she even kept that,
She kept it,
and then
yeah.
kept it in her important papers.
Mhm.
So that was pretty dope. And then it turned out that was like the best thing that had ever happened to you.
Right.
Well, one
Yeah.
of the best things that had ever
Right.
happened to you.
Yeah.
And so when you got further along, did you decide at this point, okay, I want a boy or a girl?
I wanted a girl.
You wanted
all
a girl?
along. Yeah.
Really? Why?
Yeah. Because I didn't know how to take care of a boy.
You didn't know how
I
to
was
take
the
care of you,
youngest.
though.
Well, I know, but I had my younger cousin that my
Uh-huh.
grandma had too.
Okay.
So I took care of her.
Okay.
And the younger kids that I knew how to care for were girls. So I
Okay.
knew how to take care of myself.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
knew I could take care of a girl.
Okay.
Like my brothers were older than me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I knew I would be able to take care of a girl.
You know what's so funny too is like when I first had my first child, I wanted a girl too.
Mm-hmm.
But 97 boys later,
Right.
I just never got to have that. But then as I began to continue to walk with the Lord
Right.
on my journey, He told me why
Right.
I never had a daughter,
Right.
Birthed a daughter naturally, is because of the hurt and things that I had been mishandled by men, being raped, molested.
Yeah.
I didn't have a good, healthy relationship of men. So
Right.
I had to learn how to love a man so that then I can love my sons, and then he can give me as a wife to my husband.
Right.
Because in the state that I was in, I was no
Right.
earthly good to any men, So it took a long time for me to understand that, because I really thought I was cursed. I'm like, all I wanted was one daughter,
Right.
and could never get her.
She wouldn't have been able to do nothing.
Yeah, no, she would. I probably would have been in
fair.
jail for life.
Yeah.
Because I might have just took her out. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, no. Because the things that young people do nowadays
Mhm.
that we did not even think about doing,
Yeah.
or even the way they talk to their parents.
The elders, yeah.
Yeah, it's beyond
Yeah.
crazy. The disrespect. And
Yeah. But she wouldn't have did that because she would have been your daughter. Because my kids don't. My son,
See, I know your son doesn't, but you were raised in that
Right.
thing, so you instilled that.
Right.
But a lot of people don't do that because
Yeah.
they too busy trying to still relive their lives
Mhm.
because of whatever happened with their parents,
Right.
So that was good. But your daughter was such a sweetheart, though.
She was.
So I just don't think, because your genes ain't my genes, so I wouldn't have been.
Adrian had her little flair. I listened to like a lot of different podcasts. I had listened to one, and the lady was talking about how your children are a reflection of you when you carried them.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to stop and think about it. And I'm like, you know what? And it made me so happy because I thought about Adrian was really happy and loving when she was carrying Adrian. She was happy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was the best thing ever. She wanted more kids.
Yeah.
And so it made me happy thinking about how happy she was having a baby.
Yeah.
And then I think about her and I'm like, yeah, I was very quiet to myself because I was in high school.
Oh, wow.
I was kind of like ashamed,
Were you? Why?
That was like, I think my era was when girls start having children young.
Yeah.
It was here and there, but it wasn't common.
Yeah.
So, and then with my, background, it's like, I'm not supposed to be having no child,
Right.
It was kind of, and no one made me feel it was just me, my inner,
So do you think it's because possibly if you saw another child, a peer of yours that was pregnant at the age you were pregnant, that you would have kind of felt some kind of reserve about? Would you kind of been like, So then why all of the judgment on yourself?
I don't know. Just because I had higher hopes for myself.
Okay.
At that point.
What did you want to do? What did you feel like you couldn't do if you had a baby?
Right. Now I know I could have done anything.
Right.
But, but it was just, no.
The United States.
But it was just, like one of those things, like,
I think it's a stigma on that. Not that I'm condoning
Right.
Teen pregnancy. I was a teen when
Right.
I had my first child.
Yeah.
And I'm not condoning like, hey, this is going to be the greatest thing in your life, because
Right. 'Cause
there's
it's
a lot of
hard.
challenges.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yes.
challenges. But I'm saying that, sometimes life happens.
Right.
And it's like, okay, you got to give yourself a little grace.
Right.
Don't just willingly and willy-nilly like, oh, I
Right.
want a baby. I want a baby.
Right. Don't go around wanting and making one.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
And you probably should sustain,
Right.
is what I think and I
Mhm.
believe. But that's not realities. That's not everybody's reality. And the sad thing about it is sometimes people have family members that take innocence from people,
Right.
even at preteen and
Right.
teenage stages. And sometimes babies come out of incest
Right.
that is, beyond their control.
Right.
And you are so ashamed of what occurred, and you don't want anything to happen or people to think a certain way about
Mhm.
things, that you don't even say anything, that you kind of hold it to yourself
Yeah.
and keep it in yourself. And then you turn around, like you see some young girls give birth in bathrooms and different things,
Yeah.
and either throw the baby away or
Right.
or a lot of different things.
Get
So
themselves in trouble
yeah.
because of the background. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nothing like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was just, I'm at regular school because the girls that did get pregnant,
Mhm.
they didn't go to regular school
They
either.
didn't?
No, they went to like other
Continuations?
schools. Yeah.
Alternative
No,
ones?
my grandma
Okay.
told me I was staying in regular school. Like, she was
Right.
like, oh no, you're not going to one of those schools. You're too smart to go to that school.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but everything happens for a reason. I can't imagine not having all the time I
Right.
had with her
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
because she was meant to be my daughter.
Of course. Of
So
course.
I can't imagine her getting cancer in her 20s and
Mhm.
not having, she could have been 10
Yeah.
if I would have waited,
Yeah. Right.
So,
Exactly. Exactly. Was that like how did you process that whole news when she got diagnosed?
I had a heart attack.
Did you?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ended up in the hospital.
Yeah.
I helped it in, and then that's what ended up happening.
Yeah.
I ended up in the hospital. I think that was God's way of preparing me
Yeah.
because I didn't have any major health issues
Right.
to where you would think I was on the verge of a heart attack
Right.
at all.
Right.
Ended up in the hospital for like 7 days.
Mhm.
Couldn't do nothing, just rested.
Yeah.
Ended up on oxygen for about 60, 90 days.
Mhm.
Came home with oxygen
Yeah.
and the tanks to take
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, he was just preparing me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I always said if something happened to, one of my kids, I would lose it.
Yeah.
So that was his way of making sure I stayed calm
Yeah. Mhm.
and did what I had to do. Because I'm pretty good under pressure. But just when it comes to my kids,
You know what, too, that you're saying that is reflective of me thinking that he was preparing your heart.
mm-hmm.
And so it had to go through some things
Right. To be
able
strong
to,
enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to be able to grieve, because
Yeah.
that's a real tough thing
Yeah.
is when you lose your first. And especially I identify when you're a young teenage parent, you're growing up with your kid.
Right.
They
Yeah.
teach you how to really love
Right.
unconditionally. Because
Yeah.
as kids, we don't really know what that means.
No.
It's like, why is she always on my back? And why is
Right.
this? And why is that? And you don't really understand or grasp the thought of love is too small for your little bitty mind to understand. And so when God gifts you as a mother and gifts a child to you, it teaches you that unconditional love.
Mhm.
It teaches you the fruit of the Spirit, long suffering. It teaches you patience.
Mhm.
It teaches you kindness. It teaches you all of these things. And so being that he was getting ready to go ahead and take his gift back from you,
Right.
or be able to say, okay, I've given her, lent her to you for this amount of time.
Right.
Now I want her back.
Mhm.
He prepared your heart.
Yeah.
And he just does things so, in a matter of factly, that's so dope that
Mhm.
we can't even grasp it.
Right.
A lot of times we're thinking, why? I'm too young. I'm this, I'm that. Like, how did you even know you were having a heart attack?
I couldn't breathe. I
Okay.
didn't know.
Okay.
I just couldn't breathe. And I went and
Like for a long time, or
no, this was like, I can't say the time frame because I thought it was a short amount of time than it was,
Uh-huh.
but it ended up being like a couple of hours. I had went, Adri had already been diagnosed. She was at the house, but she was feeling okay that day. So she
Yeah.
had went out with her friends.
Mm-hmm.
And when she came back, I was like, I'm gonna take a shower. I don't feel so good.
Yeah.
But it was bad air quality. It was
Mhm.
like a fire
The
going on
fires.
somewhere.
I remember that.
And so went and got in the shower, and I'm like, I kept coughing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what is going on? Am I having an asthma attack?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And stayed in the shower for a while, but I'm coughing the whole time. And then I got out the shower and I went into the living room. And I thought I was just there a couple of minutes,
Mhm.
but Celis had came out of his room
Mhm.
because he comes out and eats in the middle of the night.
Right.
And
Right.
he's seen me on the couch.
Yeah.
And he's like, Mom, what are you doing in here? Mind you,
Yeah.
I just came straight out the shower. I'm on
Right.
the couch. And he's
Right.
like, what are you doing in here? And I was
Yeah.
like, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
And he was like, and he turns on all the lights. He was like, what do you mean? Why don't you have anything on? And I
Yeah.
was like, I just got out the shower. You
Yeah.
know, I'm thinking all this, you know,
Mhm.
is just happening.
Yeah.
And so he goes and gets my daughter. My daughter's asleep in my room.
Okay.
He goes and gets her. She comes in there and she's like, Mom, you ain't got dressed yet? And I'm
Yeah.
like, I just got out the shower. And she was
Yeah.
like, no, you've been out the shower.
Wow.
And so I had got a plastic bag and I had been sitting there coughing
Uh-huh.
in the dark.
Yeah.
And when they turn on the lights, it's blood
Blood.
in the plastic
Oh
bag.
my God.
And she was like, what do we, they panicking at this
Yeah.
point. And I'm like, call 911.
Yeah.
Because I'm still trying to breathe.
Right.
I had a plastic bag, I had a bag,
Mhm.
and I had my inhaler.
Yeah.
And so they called, the ambulance came, they called, the siblings and went to the hospital. And that's when I found out everything that was
Wow.
going on.
Was it a massive one or was
No.
it? Okay.
No.
That is so crazy.
Mhm.
But look how thank God that he hungry in the midnight hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Because I was thinking it had just been a few minutes,
yeah, and it's hours.
And
That's
sitting there for
crazy.
hours.
Yeah, and
Then they said if I wouldn't have had, been taking the inhaler and all that, I probably would have stopped breathing. But I had a bag breathing.
Yeah.
Like
That's crazy.
had it all
So
there
it
with
didn't
me.
feel like maybe I should go to the hospital. It didn't feel that bad to you? It did, but it didn't.
It did, but it didn't.
Yeah.
Because all I'm thinking is Adri's here and she's
Yeah.
sick. So,
you can't dare be sick while she's sick.
Like,
Mom got to step in again.
yeah, I got to stay here. I'm
Yeah.
fine. But
Right.
once they turned on the light and I realized it's blood in the bag, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, wait a minute. Something's
Right.
going on.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm
Exactly.
thinking I'm just coughing up mucus
Uh-huh.
the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
And all this time, it was
Mhm.
not. And he was just still so mindful of you,
Yeah.
orchestrating everything,
Yeah.
that he would then say, okay, I have to prepare her heart
Mm-hmm.
because I'm getting ready to call her home.
Mm-hmm.
And I need her to be able to be strong enough
Right.
to even help with her baby,
Yeah.
so that he can go through and be able to press on.
Yeah.
Because even your grandmother did that for you.
Yeah.
And so it was just like,
Yeah.
wow. And so then you kind of know how to do it because you've seen it done.
Exactly.
Isn't that so crazy?
Yeah.
It's like his
Yeah.
hand. And that's why I say his
Yeah.
grace towards you.
Yeah.
That is so
Yeah.
phenomenal. Is that his hand has been on your life this whole time.
Yeah.
The way that he's pulled this away, but then replaced that.
Mm-hmm.
He's isolated you here, but then you had a whole tribe around you. The way that he stabilized you to be able to stand, and that your shoulders were wide enough and strong enough to be able to endure some things, that he then said, I still yet love you, and I will not put more on you than you can bear. And because I know you can bear this, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And like, he just does things.
Yeah.
And he's so amazing. And that even when you think you can't find strength, he gives it to you.
Mm-hmm.
That is so crazy, that because then after that, you had other losses
Yeah.
in your life.
Mm-hmm.
How close in proximity was it?
So Adri passed December 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And then my niece passed spring of 2023. And then my grandmother passed fall of 2023.
Yeah. And it was like 3 strong women
Yeah.
that were like pillars and strong and
Yeah.
very important to you, and that he still allowed you to thrive. And so what was that like, having to deal with that and prepare yourself after having a heart attack, and then she got better and then she got worse again?
Mm-hmm. So I guess there's something with people that are, on their way out that I've read up on after the fact, that when, they're struggling with illness, they do get better.
Mm-hmm.
And they get like this
Burst of
energy. Yes.
Yeah.
And it may last for like, days
Yeah.
but they get better
Yeah.
before
They pass on.
before they go down.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened with Adri. Her cancer, she started with breast cancer. It had already, she was at stage 4 when she was diagnosed. And it was in her bones. So she had very painful cancer. And she went through the chemo, went through radiation. We were in and out the hospital. And then just one day she woke up and she was able to walk.
I'll be right back. Get your diamonds and them pearls, baby. I'll be